Do you like sweaty man playing fiddles on stage?
I think I might like Sweaty Men.
Do you like
Stage.
country music with a twist?
I'm interested. Keep going.
Well, today on Boston Chris's show, we're going to be talking about a little band called Kinfo. My name's Rico,
I'm Jake.
and welcome to the Boston Chris Show.
It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. Until we all lose connection.
Hey guys, welcome to the Boston Chris podcast with yours truly, Boston Chris. And today is episode number 40 with our special guests, Rico Gonzalez from San Antonio and Jakey Black, originally from Flint, Michigan. They together are collectively known as two members of the high energy rocking country band from the state of Texas called Kinfo. And we have them here on the show for the very first time. And we talked about a whole bunch of stuff with Rico and Jakey today. And what an incredible, highly talented guys, super humble guys as well. We talked about their musical influences, how they met, Rico somehow ending up in Michigan of all places. We're going to share that story. We're going to talk about their shared passion for red dirt music, their background individually in metal and classical, interesting stuff kind of coming together. Relocating back to Texas, kind of the idea and strategy for that relocation. How hard was it to convince their bandmates and their families to move to Texas? Why and really the strategy behind the fiddle as more of a featured piece rather than an accessory, and the strategy behind vocal harmonies. Very interesting stuff. We also talk about Rico's incredible vocal range, which I love, by the way. Finding great songs, making your own luck, and teaming up with legendary songwriters, which of course is going to lead into an evolution process into writing their own songs. Does being bilingual give any kind of advantage to this band? You're going to be interested in that answer. Also, we talk about some of their accolades. One of the most awarded bands in Texas, headlining Billy Bob's, having two songs on the charts at the same time, 5 number one hits. Has that changed them? Have they had time to reflect on that kind of stuff? All of this, plus not one, but two acoustic versions of their songs, including a never heard before song anywhere on the internet called Next Heart You Break. You guys aren't going to want to miss this. Let's get into it. Episode 40, Kinfo, Rico Gonzalez, Jakey Black. Let's go.
Hey, it's Bernie Nelson, and thanks for tuning into the Boston Chris Show.
Guys, Boston Chris, it's the Boston Chris podcast once again. Episode number 40. Holy crap, we're already through 40 of these. So we started podcasting again in May, and we did 340 some odd episodes up until 2018, and then we kind of quit cold turkey and started back up in May. And we're already at 40 again. Guys, we have a huge treat this week. We have Rico and Jake from the live Texas band Kinfo on the show. 5-time number one artist. Is it 5 times?
man.
5?
5 times.
Yeah.
So
Only
that's
5.
you guys wrestling fans like Booker T. 5 times, 5 times, 5 times, 5 times, 5. Guys, congratulations on that.
Thank
First of all, holy crap,
Thank
that's
you
a
very much.
huge accomplishment.
Man,
And-
thank you.
Of course, and so Rico and Jake are on the show for the first time, and they're going to perform a couple of songs for us. And the very first tune that they're going to play for us is, of course, a number one hit. I mean, they have to have a number one hit on the show. And one of my favorite Kinfo songs is called My Kind of Weathered. And the reason why I love this song, not just because it's a great song, but it's written by a mutual friend, Kenzie Coppin,
No way.
co-written. She's been on the show before, years and years and years ago. And so when I
that's
saw
cool,
her
man.
co-writing credit on this, I was like, nice! Kenzie got a
Yeah.
number one. I love that. So tell us about the song, guys.
Yeah, there's a cool story for that. I mean, first of all, that's cool that you know Kenzie. Like,
Yeah.
we know her for how many years? Like a few years. Met her through a mutual friend called Bernie Nelson.
Of course. Yeah.
Neighbor. Sorry, I'm so nervous to be on your show, man.
I
It's like so
appreciate that,
exciting.
man. Thank you, man.
No, that's cool. But Kenzie, we've known her for a while, and we knew that she's an amazing songwriter and artist, first of all. And she had this song, I guess, that she wrote with her buddy of hers in Nashville one night. And story goes, they were writing, as a lot of writers do in Nashville, for a certain artist. And they wrote this song, My Kind of Weathered, to be pitched to Cody Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can see that.
If you listen to the actual demo, the pitch track, the demo, the guy that they got to sing the demo sounds like Cody.
Yeah.
They're really trying to push for it, and I believe they had it on hold for a little bit. Then it didn't get. He actually took his song. If you got a chance, take it. Take it when you got a chance. That was the song he took instead. So we're like, Kenzie's like, it's up for grabs. We heard it. We're like, can we cut it? And she's like, oh my gosh, I'd be so honored. So friends helping friends, she helped us out a lot. And long story short, we put it out, and man, it was really cool, the response we got from
Yeah,
it.
blew up big time for y'all. And man, you just explained the Texas scene in a nutshell. Just everybody always looking out for each other. And man, I'm stoked to show this song, you guys. It's My Kind of Weathered from Faux live on the Boston Chris podcast. Y'all check it out.
Yeah. Trailing porcelain, nothing to do. Sit, watch that sun swamp out with the moon. Yeah, a fresh coat of paint might make it look better. It's my kind of weather. Bible on the dash and granddad's truck. On Sunday morning when it's all done, and the cowboys hands holding on love letters. It's my kind of weather. 'Cause if it's beat up, broke down, worn in, I keep it real. There's something about all of that laughing, oh, things, a little bit of dust, but don't mean it ain't worth nothing, it ain't worth keeping forever. It's my kind of weather. Those left lines showing on Granny's face. Everyone's got a story that you can't erase. Can't put a price on it 'cause it can't be measured. It's my kind of weather. 'Cause if it's beat up, broke down, worn in, I keep it real. There's something about all of that laughing, oh, things, little bit of dust, but don't mean it ain't worth nothing, it ain't keep it forever. It's my kind of weather. It's my kind of weather. Got some leather on the saddle seat. Oh, everything weathered is a lot like me. 'Cause if it's beat up and broke down and worn out, I keep it real. There's something about all of that laughing, oh, things, little bit of dust, but don't mean it ain't worth nothing, it ain't worth keeping forever. Oh, it ain't worth nothing, it ain't worth keeping forever.
right, so we're back, and so Rico and I have been talking a little bit today. And first of all, I have to say my condolences to your manager Jen and the loss
Oh man, yeah.
that she's had in her family today. I'd be remiss without saying that. Jennifer is the whole reason, the catalyst for this interview. So,
Oh my gosh, yeah. She's been helping us out a lot, especially 2024. We were just talking. It's crazy, a lot of change we went through, I guess, this past year, and having Jen on board helped. And yeah, so yeah, it's always sad when you lose a loved one, right, as family members. But she's taking time for that, and
yeah.
so that gave me the ability to call you earlier today, which we got to hang out and
Yep.
talk on the phone a little bit, which made me excited for tonight.
And Jennifer's a huge asset too to anybody. She's so passionate in what she does, and yeah, she has my support, and I have hers, which is awesome in the business. So, but anyway, let's break the ice a little bit. What's y'all's favorite drinks right now?
Oh, we're doing the icebreaker games.
No games. The game is later. So my theme song says we got to find out what they're drinking. So what are y'all drinking? What are your favorite drinks right now?
I don't know. This is a shameless plug. This is not sponsored by Diet Coke.
It's so refreshing.
Product placement, y'all. That's
Let
what
me
that
smell
is.
it. Let me smell it. Oh, I feel energized already.
Oh my
it's
gosh,
so crazy.
man! Look, you're not supposed to sniff Coke, Rico. Not that kind, anyhow, right?
Jakey's a Diet Coke lover.
Yeah.
Enthusiast.
Enthusiast. It's actually a hobby. It's a problem we're trying to work on with him.
I can stop anytime I want.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I'm there with you. I like the zero Pepsi wild cherry, so I'm there with you.
There you go, Bubba.
So-
See, I was on the Fanta train for a while, but then there's so many flavors.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, this is too much for me. So I'm just gonna go with good old Dr. Pepper.
Don't go to Wendy's if you like Fanta.
thank
Oh
you.
my gosh! Like you go to Wendy's and you like Fanta or Barks. Oh, forget it, yo. Like,
Do you know what Fago is?
I do.
You
Yeah,
know Fiddle?
of course,
Dude.
Yeah.
Rock and rye.
See, we could talk about drinks all frickin' day long.
We're doing it. This podcast is awesome.
right,
What's your favorite food?
Man, I had Brandon Ryder on the show recently, and he I asked him that question, and we got talking about the evolution of his drink sponsorships and how they went from hard liquor to beer, and now he's sponsored by water.
No, that's awesome.
That's great.
I'll tell you what. When we first, like the second year we were in Texas with this, we got Shiner Bock as like help, basically.
Welcome to Texas kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And we had so many cases of Shiner in our garage. They're like, and we had this little jingle. It was like Shiner Bock, Shiner Bock. It's what you drink when you want to rock.
That's awesome.
Shiner, this is crazy.
I forget what it was, but Walmart had like a Batman styled Mountain Dew one year, and they were selling these 6-packs of Mountain Dew cans that had Batman on them, and they were selling them for like 50 cents a 6-pack because they had to get rid of them. And we bought damn near the whole pallet of them things, and we drank
Holy
Mountain Dew for like
moly.
9 months after that.
Throw it in the truck, boys.
Look, I know what poverty is. That's all there is to say about that. So you mentioned coming to Texas. Now, Rico, you're originally from Texas. Jake, you're from the Michigan, correct?
I am, yes, sir.
And
America's
so
High Five.
Rico is from, what did you say?
America's High Five.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I would call it the oven mitt, but, that's
There you
just
go.
me.
Sure, that works.
But Rico, you're originally from San Antonio, Texas, and found yourself up in Michigan, and that's how y'all met, right?
Yeah, Reader's Digest version, man. Just moved to Michigan to finish school up there. Met a girl, got married, and ended up staying there, and that's when I put an ad out literally in Craigslist. I mean, there's a lot missing, but we won't go over that. Fiddle player looking for work, and our first drummer, or I guess original drummer, Dan Courier, who retired last year, right? He retired after a long career. He found me and was like, "Hey, the city we lived in was called Lapeer, Michigan at the time."
Right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. That's where it's at. And population maybe, I don't know, 10,000 people or something like that, 15,000. Small city. And so he's like, "Man, like you're either new to the city or you suck and you can't get any work.
Yeah.
Like fiddle players are pretty rare up here, man. Like, what are you? You know?
You're in Michigan, bro. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you like? Did you have to like tell people up there or define what a fiddle was first of all? Like, you know, because I'm from Massachusetts. If I start dropping words like fiddle up there, they're not gonna catch on whatsoever. Like, at
Would
all.
you just call me? Would you call me?
Exactly. That's what they do when they're messing around with their pills or something. They're fiddling with their pills, you know?
You're fiddling around with stuff,
That's
bro.
right. So I'm curious, as young guys, I'm talking real young now. First of all, what were your first like musical experiences like? Your inspirations. I'm curious how this works. A Texas boy, a Michigan boy, and it works so well. So take us back to your younger days musically.
Go, bro.
Oh man. Well, my father, he's a vocalist. He was, and just a phenomenal talent. But I'm in front. I've heard stories anyway that as early as I could talk. I'd be crouched by the stereo listening to music with him. But yeah, I grew up on classic country, and then I got into metal, and then I was in metal for quite a while. Then I came back to country, and here I am.
I love
Here I
that
am.
because I can definitely see that in your chops, man. I was going to ask him about metal because I can see it. I can hear it from you. What about
The
you,
only
Rico?
country guitar player in Texas that sweeps, baby.
Well, guys,
Absolutely, yeah. What about your early days, Rico?
I was kind of sheltered as a kid, man. I used to get teased a lot from the boys when we first started, just about my lack of knowledge of actual like music, when it comes to country rock or anything like that. Just because my parents, if it was either church music, mariachi music, or classical music, And I had a CD one time, Incubus CD. I remember I got from my uncle, and I loved it. And I would play it, and I'd go shoot hoops outside, And one time I was playing it when my parents were gone, and my dad came home and he heard me listening to the Devil's Incubus music, and he broke my CD. He picked it up in broad daylight and broke my CD. But my heavily influence was, like I said, I grew up pretty sheltered, and which I'm not ashamed of. I think that it saved me from a lot of things that my family struggles with personally on the other side of things, and I got to grow up in a cool environment with my family, and we did mariachi. A lot of it was the Hispanic culture of Texas, the San Antonio culture. My dad and my grandpa were founders in San Antonio, or I should say my great grandfather, him and his father had the very first mariachi in the area called Mariachi Perla de Jalisco, and that got passed down to generations. To where my dad, my uncle, who sadly passed, was in it. My cousins that are in Houston. I mean, they spread all over Texas, and so that was a huge part of my growing up was the mariachi music, and then when I got to middle school, I started playing fiddle when I was younger. I took piano lessons first, but I got into classical music and orchestra, and that's when I just like, you know what, I'm gonna go be a classical violinist, and I ended up going and playing. I played in Sacramento.
Wow.
Did some subbing in Detroit.
all over Europe.
Yeah, it took me all over Europe and Russia. Oh yeah, that side of the world. And so I finally found. Honestly, like I said, I moved back home towards I guess my 20s, and that's when the Red Dirt scene was kind of taking off. Like Pat Green and Randy Rogers are just starting. Stoney and all these boys are just coming through. Cody Canada. Cross Canadian Ragweed.
So we're talking early 2000s here then, huh?
Yeah, but the thing is that I still wasn't listening to these boys. That was the thing. Like they were still coming up, but I was still into the classical, veils over my head. Until the Hold My Beer Volume 1 album came out with Randy Rogers and Wade Bowen.
Yeah.
And I wore that out on Spotify, and that's what kind of got me in love with country. And then after that, I was like, I'm going to turn this thing. I went to the store and bought some strings instead of strings.
Yep. So here's a question for both of y'all, because I love the Genesis story here. We have classical music on the right. We have metal music on the left. How far of a stretch is it for both of you musically to end up where you are now, right? Because being a classical fiddle, a classical violinist and a fiddle player are completely different. And being a country guitarist and a metal shredder, again, completely different. So what's the
That's
stretch
true.
like for each of you for this?
It doesn't feel like a stretch at all, buddy. I mean, it's not honestly. I mean, we're of the mind, I mean, all music is music, So I
Absolutely.
mean, and we, if it works, then it works. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And we,
You'll know.
you'll know immediately.
You'll
Well,
know.
nope, that didn't work. Let's try
You
something.
know what's crazy though too? He's super humble about it. He won't even tell you, but Jakey's a total, total music nerd, like theory nerd, like, and he's proud of it, And coming from the classical side, I love that stuff too. But we put that together and in music, and it's just like I think that's where a lot of our sound comes from. Is a lot of people don't know is a lot of the melodies and a lot of the chord structures come from Jake on that side of the with his knowledge of the chordal structures and like getting into the kind of like I think maybe do you think metal played into that?
Oh,
It all played
it
in.
all is, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so it works, man, because like bringing that all together, we can still communicate and then kind of create. I'll be honest, like I don't even know what our sound is called. We're still,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I've heard you guys describe it as industrial dirt, right?
I'll stop that.
No, is
Hey,
that?
that was what we used to call it. Honestly, right now, I'm not even sure what it is. I mean, we've been over this last year, Chris. I mean, we've really opened up the gates, as it were. We kind of had a just kind of like a paradigm shift when it comes to how we were thinking musically. So we're starting to introduce some different elements into our music, and just hoping that it it's convincing and it's received the way that we're hoping it's received.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, as Rico's saying, I mean, just being able to continue to evolve. I think that's super important. As artists and musicians for sure. And it's really easy to to get completely just consumed with the business side of things because
Yeah.
there's always something to be done.
Of
Always.
course.
Always.
Yeah.
But so making time to to work on the music and the art form and ultimately the reasoning that you got in this anyway, the love of music and just being a part of it, but yeah, I mean it's a balance, but yeah, we're certainly trying to to push the envelope.
I'm excited for people to hear the new stuff coming out next year. Like I really am. Like
It's different.
it's so different, and I think a part of that too is our change of our lineup change. And the environment we have now.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still fiddle based,
Oh, yeah.
and so I mean, it's not like we're completely abandoning where we came from, not at all.
Neo jazz Tejano.
I want to talk about the two words that really made me focus on that, and that was paradigm shift, because it's
Yes, sir.
it's an interesting term, and I want people to understand what that means. But from your perspective, when you're talking about a shift in that fashion, how often do you find yourselves as a live band kind of experimenting on your audience before taking that shift into the studio?
That's a great question, man. And ultimately, it's different now, Chris, because I'm a huge fan of podcasts, and I listen to a bunch of them and yours. Fantastic, my friend.
Thank
By
you.
the way. But it's the days of actually being able to write a song and like being able to test it in real time is kind of over. I mean, you can't really take it out onto the road and like play it, see how crowds react, because I mean, you play it once, it's filmed,
It's everywhere.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. It's
It's on-
everywhere. Yep.
and by the time you get into the studio to record it,
People
it's,
know, right?
it's old news.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
So it's difficult, but yeah, sometimes we pull stuff out, to be a bit conspicuous, but it doesn't work. I mean, we're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about that concept though. Like, you're right. It's because not even. I guess that's pretty recent too, because we would play some songs to the public to see how they would react and be like, "Oh, this one definitely should go on the album." That Honky Tonk in Heaven album we have, and those songs, Locked Up in Lubbock and all that stuff. We play those out. Teardrops. I remember the first time we played it for the writer. We're like, let's try this out. See if this is a song we want to record, and the people danced to it and liked it. But you're right, dude. I never thought
It's
about
just
like
different. It's
like
just
people. If somebody gets a phone out, and the thing that stinks right now is like, because consumerism, man. Like the attention spans of all these people right now is like, what do they say, 3 seconds or something like, oh, look, thumbs up. Um, the attention spans, so it's like they eat it, they consume it, and they want the next thing.
What's next?
What's
Yeah.
next? So if somebody does catch something that you're like, I can see that, you know, it's like it becomes overrated.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean,
Well, it's
by
funny.
the time
Like
you're-
I know this is completely a different genre, but Chapel Roan is a good example of what you're talking
Oh, yeah.
about. She has this record that just blew up this year, and so happy for her, by the way. But she has a song that she performs live at every show. It's called Subway, and
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's her best song. And
But she won't put it out, right?
it's not out yet, right? And
Yeah.
so that's scary. That's got to be scary for an artist like that because it's not even out yet, and it's huge on the internet.
She said she wasn't gonna put it out because people were
Right?
Didn't she do an SNL thing too, or what was the performance? Was it SNL?
It was SNL. Yes. Yep.
And then they're like, she's like, she didn't want to put the song out anymore because people already spoiled it wouldn't have the same
Yeah.
pizzazz.
yeah, respect, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Man.
Absolutely sucks as a fan, by the way.
I-
It truly does. But yeah, that's my favorite song from her, and that happens a lot with what you're calling consumerism. It's so true from an artistic standpoint, and that's a huge risk as an artist to put stuff out like that. You know. Plus, then you have to own up to that in the studio. You have to live up to those performances that you've put
True,
out
yeah,
there.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're talking about a shared passion for what is essentially red dirt music, Texas, Oklahoma red dirt music. But one of you's from Michigan, the other one moved to Michigan, and all of this started evolving from Michigan. So how does that work? Like, I'm assuming, Rico, that you introduced all of this to Jake for red dirt, or was that already there?
I'll tell you what, Jake is very versed, and when it comes to country music, and guys like Roger Krager at the time, Fowler. I mean, for sure, Krager. I mean, you told me like he would sell out. He'd be selling out stadiums and stuff, big show amphitheaters down here, and he'd go anywhere in Nashville. He'd go anywhere around the country.
20 people.
20 people, right?
Yes.
But he was still known nationally, and so Jake knew of Roger Krager. The boys knew of Fowler.
Yeah, and to be fair, I spent 4-ish years in Nashville. Doing road work, and the guy that I played with mainly, he's from Texas. Was a big Traeger fan, so I learned a lot about Texas country then. But it was definitely a calculated risk up there. You know, I mean, like I was playing along with our former bass player. We were playing in like an outlaw country band, and Rico and Dan, our former drummer, they were playing in like a top 40s country.
Like a top 40, Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan kind of style, which was so crazy.
And you know, I was looking for work, and they wanted to start a side project, so we started it to see how it would go over, and people just really responded. Man. It was crazy.
Our old drummer was looking for any excuse to steal Jakey and play with Jakey because he had seen him play one time, I guess, at a festival y'all play together. I don't know. I was new to the scene in Michigan. The music scene up there is a lot different, and trust me, we adore our Michigan fans. They're the people that rallied behind us to start Kinfeld,
Absolutely.
and they gave us a launching pad to blow up right out there in the Midwest. It was all them. And talk about diehard fans. I mean, they are in it. So the thing is, the whole Michigan music scene is a little different than it is in Texas, of course, because it's a different place. But also the
Yeah,
fact
the infrastructure is just non-existent,
It's just-
right?
No.
Yeah.
no, and the ability to get your original music on radio, independent radio,
Yeah, forget
is
it.
nonsense.
Not existent. Yeah.
And they're more of it's a different scene. They don't two-step. There's no dance halls. It's more of it's a party scene, right?
Party scene.
So they're doing the whole, country girl shake it for me, it's just a whole night of party, man. And then you have the whole total older, maybe more conservative crowd that does the country, the classic country,
Classic country.
George Jones, so it's very that kind of style up there right now.
So you're kind of building that base up there for a style of music they haven't been introduced to yet.
But
so
do you know who Whitey Morgan is?
Of course, yeah.
So Whitey
he's from Flint. Yeah.
from Flint, he was blowing up. He had a kind of underground thing going
Yeah.
there with that kind of Cody Jinks at the time was blowing up. We're huge Jinks fans.
Jinx.
What flock number are you?
3942.
Flocker number 3942. Anyways, Cody Jinks is blown up. So there was kind of an underground movement going on there, man, that we kind of jumped on. And when we decided to start Kinfo, we're like, we don't know how it's going to take off. This music's different. If you like it, it's us. If you don't, it's Kevin Fowler. You know, like, so
Honestly, and our first gig was at, like, it was this little restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
On the side of the road on a Tuesday. We're like,
Wow.
well, let's see how it goes.
Billy's Pine Run,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, and it was good response, and it actually.
It turned in. I remember having the decision to make because we were making, and we're not making any money basically, but like decent money for a musician. And this other band I was in, the top 40 band, because top 40 covers, you get tribute bands. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want to jump into an original band. I don't know if I can, dude. It was like, I remember the day we did it. It was a weight lifted off my chest personally. I was like, now we have something we have creatively that we can be a part of and form something from.
That's the difference
us.
between resting on your laurels and the opposite of that would be spreading your wings, right? Like you have to decide. Like you have to decide which is more important to you. Are you happy being Kinfo in Flint, Michigan, or is there something more out there to fly towards? And it would seem to me like y'all's natural next step is what actually happened. You guys come to Texas, you relocate to Texas, which, look, that's a huge risk for a bunch of guys from Michigan who want to be an original artist, because now you're going to Texas where literally everybody down here sounds that way. Everybody wants to be an original artist, and everybody is within an infrastructure that doesn't exist in Michigan. So now you're the small guy. So was this in your thought process before you guys relocated?
I was gonna say we took it slow in a sense. We did 4 runs down here. I call them tours for whatever. It was a couple week runs.
Yeah.
We dipped our toes, in the industry. We came down here at the time. There was a thing that the Texas music pickers out of College Station were putting on this seminar. And
I remember that.
We went to that for 2 years in a row, networked. And every time we were trying to get somewhere, they're told, hey, man, you got to be present to win. You got to be here to win. You got to be here to be present. Get the gigs. You got to be here. And so we kept hearing that. We had some pretty successful runs. We would come play down here, and people would be like, man, where you guys from? Like, where? I was like, man, thank you. We love your energy. Thank you. It was cool. So then I remember we were heading to an interview in Detroit in the van, or maybe coming back from it. But I remember we were just in the van together, and our drummer, Dan, at the time was like, boys, like, it's like you said, it's time to spread the wings. Like, we've done what we can do here in Michigan. I think in order to see what this can do, we got to get to Texas. And I think that night we all went home, talked to our people, and and made that decision. We had a meeting.
And you're the only one from Texas. Even the girl you met, all these bandmates, they're all from Michigan. And so, like, what's that like, being the one Texas guy having to, like, kind of describe to everybody around you, this is what we should do?
Oh, I didn't. That wasn't me though. It was Dan. To my ears to hear Dan.
Okay.
Our drummer,
Jake and all these boys. They're like, yeah, let's go. And I was like, okay, I'm going home then. I guess like we're going back to Texas. Let's do it. Like, because every time we would come here, Chris, it was like, man, what is this place and why haven't we come here sooner? For our job, for the music, the scene.
Right.
And we had a blast. One of the first times we came down here was a sold out show we played with Kevin Fowler and Lukenbach. So you can imagine the high we were on. It was like, we got to get down here and do this, like, and spread our music. And I don't tell you what, the boys sacrificed a lot. And when I say the boys, because they all moved into one house, man.
Yeah.
One house with their wives and shared one house for 3.5 years, 4 years. Through COVID, through the freeze, through everything, they were in one house, and they gave up their own privacy. They gave up their own everything just to be for this dream. And I had kids and a wife at the time, and I still have kids. So I had my own place, and luckily my family put us up for a while. Every time we would come down, my dad and mom opened up their doors for us to follow this dream, and so when we came down, we couldn't have done it without him, I don't think.
No.
We came down, the decision was made that we're going to go all in on this. And if it wasn't for that sacrifice that the boys made, I don't know if we would have Kinfolk, man.
And that's certainly obviously a giant con that's kind of catapulted, or whatever the word is, pendulum with a bunch of pros. Obviously, the pros being you're gonna have a better infrastructure. You got radio, you got all of these promoters and artists you looked up to. But I imagine another major con is you guys built a fan base in Michigan.
Yeah.
And so you're leaving that behind. Now, I know, looking at your history since then, you guys always go back. You always, you're always playing for that fan base because obviously that's important to you. But that had to be a hard thing to leave behind as well, right? Is that fan base you built up?
It was, yes, sir. I mean, honestly, it was all calculated risk. I mean, no one was like, okay, well, let's just do it. I mean, everybody they thought about it, but as far as with what we do and what we were trying to achieve, which is to try to spread our music, by means possible, having the option for radio. I mean, there was certain limitations with where we were, and the opportunity was just so ample here in Texas. It was kind of it wasn't a hard choice.
Well, we have a lot of viewers in Texas, so I'm going to try to explain the way it works outside of here. Okay.
Okay.
So if you're from Michigan or Mississippi or Washington State or wherever, Maine, in order for your songs to get on the radio, you have to get out of wherever you are, and you go to one of four places. You go to L.A., you go to New York, you go to Nashville, you go to Austin, Texas. That's how you get on the radio. You can't do it by staying wherever you are because that infrastructure's not there. So that's what I meant earlier when I asked these guys about resting on your laurels. If you're happy with that, if you're happy about being just a local band, then that's great. And there's a lot of highly talented bands out there that do that. But if you want to be known on the radio, you can't do that by staying where you are unless you're in one of the four places I mentioned. Is that essentially true to y'all?
Yeah,
I would say so, man.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's the whole thing of like, and not to be cheesy, but like following your dream and doing whatever it takes to make it happen. We knew as a group of brothers that this is what we wanted, and something that my dad taught me. And I mean, and actually, what's crazy? He said my dad used to tell me this as a kid, but then our Dano, our original drummer, told me this that kind of like was weird for me because it solidified it. But he's like, this is not gonna fail unless you let it. Like if it fails, it's because we let it fail.
That's right.
And it's only gonna get as far as you want it to get. If it gets hard and it feels like it's blowing up on you and the wheels are falling off, and he's like, you got feet, you can keep walking and keep building it. It'll go, it'll go. But how much do you want this? And to be honest, man, right now the industry is in a weird spot. I don't know if we can shift to that, but like I don't know if you've talked to any other artists, but the economy is kind of hurting us. I'm not getting political or anything, just saying in general.
Course, like disposable income is not out there, so and usually that's where people that's where people consume art is with disposable income.
We are not an essential, I guess. We're more of an entertainment industry, right? So this is where the rubber meets the road in a sense of how bad do you want this? It's gonna turn around. It's going to. But are we going to be here for that turnaround? How you're going to stay holding on? It's the same thing that happened with COVID.
That's yet another paradigm shift, right? When things like that are happening, you have to change up. Or, I'll give you an example. I stream video games live on Twitch often.
Oh, sweet.
And so there's not disposable income to buy a $75 video game anymore, right?
Yeah.
So what the gaming industry has had to do is they've had to make free-to-play video games with microtransactions kind of embedded within their system. So then what they're doing is they're allowing people like me who can't afford a $75 video game to play their game for free. And if I have disposable income that comes in, then I can buy their microtransactions that are within
like the upgrades and stuff.
Right, exactly. And so the music industry has to do that kind of stuff too. You have to shift and duck and weave and figure out ways of getting your people to support you without even realizing that they are. And that's the important thing. That's that paradigm shift when it comes to the economy. I
think you're right.
And that's what we did, during COVID and stuff. We didn't stop, man. I mean, we're lucky we were up in Texas where things were still kind of open, but a lot of our buddies that I know that were started at the same time we did kind of fell off the map because they just were like, man, we're COVID, we can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, BS, man. We're gonna do some live streaming. We're gonna do some. We're still rehearsed. We still wrote. We still got together as a little group, you know, at our house, whatever.
And there were still shows.
And there were still
Oh
shows.
man, your fans are gonna eat that up, man. It's the behind the scenes stuff. People love that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like these
Info TV,
podcasts,
baby.
people love this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah,
man.
absolutely.
You know.
I love it. I respect you so much, man. These podcasts are awesome.
Thank you, man. So
Yeah.
two things, artistically speaking, I wanted to talk to you two about because when I see a unique act, and man, Faux is so unique, and I want to try to kind of point out what I feel as a listener, as a fan of yours, what I think makes y'all so unique to me as a listener is number one, obviously the fiddle, right? And the fiddle is not an accessory piece to this band. It is a featured piece to the band.
Yep.
This is not something, let's put some fiddle in here. That's not what this is, first of all. I want people to see and hear that. And the other thing is your vocal harmonies. Top notch. Absolutely
man.
top notch. And I think
Thank you.
those two things for me set you guys apart from every other band in this state. Are those
Wow.
two things really part of your strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, we're huge fans of bands with big vocal harmony, like Alabama.
Rest His Heart.
Rest His
Yeah,
Heart,
the
absolutely.
90s sound, right? Yeah, that 90s
Sons of the
sound.
Desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sons of the Desert.
Black Hawk.
Black Hawk.
Wow.
Yeah, it goes
Yes.
on. But I mean, we're that's definitely a component of what we try to do musically. You know, I mean, big vocal harmony. You know, clever parts with the fiddle and guitars, and you know, just we trying to make music that we're excited about, and hopefully everyone else will be excited about. You know,
Man,
Go ahead, Rico.
no, so the fiddle part of it for me, man, is honestly like, I know Jake can probably say the same thing about his guitar and stuff, but for me, it's like an extension of who I am as a person. I feel like so, like no matter what project I go on, I would probably have a fiddle with me. I think, whether hip hop or whatever, jazz, it's just it would be. It's the kind of thing I only really know how to do. I fake the keys, I fake the guitar, but I think
The
a
fiddle
part
is
of it
another
that-
limb. It's another arm, essentially.
It
for
kind of
you.
is, man.
Yeah.
And the ability that the boys, I mean, the ability, the fact that the guys they built me up, and they I've learned so much from these past 7 years of these boys, and just of who I am as a musician, not just a fiddle player, but as a musician, growing into that spot as a frontman, as a fiddle player, because like you said, it can be easily seen as just an accessory in the band, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's throw a lick here, let's throw a little ornament here. But they've allowed me to kind of really make it a part. Jakey's always like, hey, no, I wrote this part, but I'm hearing the fiddle in this too, like woven in. And so it's like a constant integral part thing that,
Yeah.
that we're working on, you know?
Now, when you guys are in the studio, speaking with the fiddle, when is it not supposed to be front and center for you guys? Because obviously you're the front man, you are the fiddle player, but there's going to be times in the studio where it doesn't make sense, right, for the fiddle to be the focal point of a song. How do you make that decision?
If it doesn't fit, it don't fit, man.
yeah, I mean, we just honestly, we try it out. And again, there's, I mean, there isn't any ego with this. You know, I mean, if something works, great. If it doesn't, then we'll move on and try something else. But yeah, there's a handful of songs where we've tried fiddle, and it's like, yeah, no, it's just not really going in that direction. Because I mean, but whenever you put a fiddle in, I mean, it has a certain flavor to it.
Of course.
You know, so
Yeah.
and that colors the
Flavor.
the overall composition, and if that's not really where we're thinking about taking something, then yeah, well, try something else here.
Yeah.
There are certain songs where I feel like you guys have chosen like a pedal steel or mandolin instead of the fiddle. And that's going to be a big choice because as a live band, I imagine those two pieces are not there all the time. I'm sure you do have those sometimes, but I mean, it would make more sense with the pieces you have to include the fiddle because then you can replicate that when you're live. So that has to be a big choice, I imagine.
That's a huge part of it.
Like talking about that for a second, like that's always a fun challenge.
Yeah, of course.
As because you got to be careful also in the studio. Something that Jake and I have always kind of talked about is you want it to sound like you can replicate it live. You know, it's convincing. I would love if we could afford a full-time keyboard player or steel player with us. You know, I mean, it'd be awesome.
Horn sections, backup singers,
You know what I mean? Like,
17 piece.
yeah,
Brass
so
section,
cool.
let's go.
Listen, big man, Lyle love it.
Well, I love a big band.
Yeah, but you know, it'd be great. But the challenge, I guess, is making it sound full live and adding the important elements that really make the song. You know, and it's funny because, like I said, these boys have helped me grow as a musician. There's been times back in the day, like I remember being in a rehearsal space. And it's like I just can't figure out what I want to do with the song to make it sound convincing. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play guitar and strum. You know, and it's like they're like, no,
Nope.
like you put that, you might have to do guitar on this part.
Like, put that fiddle back.
They're like, you can play guitar during this part, but then maybe play keys on this first, and then play fiddle on this part. And so they're always pushing me personally to do that, to as many elements. And now Jakey one time was doing a lap pedal, a lap steel, and we were playing with stuff right now, man. And the new stuff, like I said, not all of it has fiddle on it, and that's cool.
Well, first of
You
all,
know,
I want to say that I love the fact that your band is chipping away at your humility, and they recognize that there are certain things that you should own, and that is definitely one of them, right? Is just your chops on the fiddle. I agree with the band's standpoint on that. Sometimes it's a huge weakness to be too humble. And it's good to know that your band recognizes your sound and your role within that. And you have to own that, Rico. You got to get better at that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Trust me, I'm probably making myself sound too humble. I'm not, I promise.
So let's try to blow up Rico's head a little bit more. I'm really excited about your vocal range. Just unbelievable vocal range.
Wait.
I knew you were gonna chuckle at that, but by God, I was listening to Sunny in '72, another great song. My dude, you reach some places, man.
I don't know. Do I? I appreciate that, Chris. Thanks, man.
No, seriously, I'm a big fan and a
Thank
big
you.
component
Thank you.
of vocals as an instrument. I don't think it's really looked at enough within the industry. And
no one's ever told me that, man. So I don't know how to react to that. I'm sorry.
and that's cool, man. That's cool. I just again, I feel like people overlook and underrate vocals as an instrument, and
It means a lot, dude.
I mean, you look
Wow.
at somebody. We talked about pop music earlier, Rico. Let's talk about Billie Eilish and how she uses her vocals as an instrument.
Yeah.
You do the same thing to an extent, and when you need to reach an emotion and kind of give that emotion to a listener, you are very adept at that, and I love that in your sound, dude. So
Oh my gosh.
I
Thanks,
love that,
That's
man.
crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out vocally because again, I always try to try to find the things that make folks unique, you know.
That means a lot, man, because I've always been really self-conscious, honestly, about my vocals. I know they're not the best. I know they have a weird tone to them, but that's just who I am. And, you know, we first put this together, like I said, with Dano, we were driving. He's like, man, we got this band. You know, we're going to get Jake. Guitar would be great. I still remember it. It was dark. We're in his car. We're driving down from Bay City, Michigan. And he's like, you know, maybe we can get this guy to play bass. How's this going to work? Who's going to sing? And you're like, I don't know. Like, I'm like, do you know Jake sings? He's like, I think he does. You know, I was like, okay, cool. He's like, but we're gonna need, you know, some singers because, you know, it's to sing all night. 'Cause back in the day, we were doing 3 1-hour sets.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could try to sing. He's like, you sing? I'm like,
Yes.
And he's like, let me hear it. And I remember sitting in a car, me and Dano, so awkwardly being like, you're as smooth. And I was
Well,
like,
man, I challenge you as a vocalist to go back through your catalog and try to recognize your own growth because it's there,
Thank you, brother.
big time. Seriously,
Wow,
spend some
thank
time
you,
on
brother.
that. Man,
That's cool.
I talked to somebody, Steve Dorff. I don't know if you recognize that name. He wrote Through the
I do recognize
Years
the name.
and I Cross My Heart for George Strait.
Yeah.
Big songs, right? Steve and I were talking recently about making your own luck. And I feel like with your story and finding great songs in the state of Texas, there has to be that kind of concept from y'all, because by God, you have songs out from Bernie Nelson, David Lee, Brett Beavers, Jim Beavers, all of these great, great songwriters. So you guys are making your own luck. You're finding great songs. How is that happening for y'all?
Gosh, honestly, from the inception of this project, we've just been blessed, man. We really have, and I can't tell you why. I mean, we met Bernie pretty much immediately after we formed this band, and he was kind enough to let us look through his catalog, and we picked up a bunch of songs, and
A whole bunch of songs, by
a
God.
whole bunch of songs.
Yeah.
And we had Bobby Randall, produce our first album, which I mean,
Confederate Railroad, Sawyer Brown, guitar player, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then the whole Brett Beaver thing and Jim Beaver thing, that was just a freak fluke accident. Tell
So
about
we opened up for this guy named Kel Dodds. You're good, bro. We opened up for this guy named Kel Dodds in Lansing, Michigan, at a old Toby Keith's bar and grill kind of thing. It's turned into Tequila Cowboy, and we had just gotten our shirts in, our first merch order of Kinfo Classic Tees, and we had like 25 of them. We were so proud of them. We had a little table set up. And at the end of the night, we sold no shirts, but I was like, you know what? We got to give the boys that band some shirts just to say thank you for letting us open, and maybe they'll rep us wherever. And that's exactly what happened. They went back to Nashville. Kel Dodds ended up writing a comedy script with a guy named Jim Beavers, huge songwriter.
Yeah.
And then they met up at the gym one time, and Jim saw his shirt he was wearing. It said Kinfo, and he's like, "What is that?" And Kel told him, "Oh, they're this crazy band from Texas. They have a fiddle player, blah blah." So then Jim went home, being that he was from Texas. One of the original founders of Sons of the Desert. We didn't know that. So he went to school in Waco and everything. He's into Texas music, so he went and Googled us, found our stuff, listened to some music, sent me an email and said, "Hey, I don't normally do this. My name's Jim Beavers. You can Wikipedia me, see kind of like my catalog, but I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to meet you guys. Tell me more. Here's my number." Dude, it's all through a merch transact. We just gave them.
So merch is key here, guys.
There you go.
We talked. You guys talked a little bit earlier about getting out there, networking, meet everybody, go everywhere. This is a product of that, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. It truly is.
Yeah.
Your band name, your merch. I mean, it's your calling card, man. I mean, it can create opportunity for you, and that's just it. On my merch blood. My merch is the lifeblood of my to any organization anyway. But to have somebody just wear it and be recognized, that's incredible. When does that happen?
And again, just to name a few names, we don't name drop often on the show, but by God, we're talking Bernie Nelson, David Lee, Brett Beavers, Jim Beavers. You guys have done a song with Terry McBride. I mean, and this is all just from being amazing at what you do, networking, and just all of that, and again, making your own luck and putting your name in the hat, so to speak, right?
David Lee told us one thing that stuck with us for a long time in the beginning. He said, if you're doing things right, luck will come to you. Things will come to you. You'll start, things will start happening for you, and you'll notice. He's like, a lot of people go out and and it's good to go out and hustle, and I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying a lot of people don't. They're wear themselves out. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? He's like, no, do you, and it'll come.
Yeah.
And so, I guess
it's about making yourself the answer to the right questions, right?
There you go.
It really is, yeah.
So who can we call? Well, call Rico. Well, call Jake. Well, who can do this for us? Well, call Kinfo. That's essentially what it is, right? Like being on the tips of someone's tongue.
It's all, it's sum it all up. You can say that this industry right here, I feel like, is built on relationships.
Absolutely.
If you're an asshole, you're not going to have a lot of friends.
Yep.
If you care about people, you have the whole horizon for it.
I think we should all be we should have a reputation level above our head, right?
A number?
Like a little number 1 through 5. Like somebody reports you as having a bad experience, goes down just a little bit. You know what I mean?
4.5 stars.
Exactly. So it would seem to be the natural procession here would be, you're getting all these great songs from incredible writers. I imagine you guys are writing now too and evolving into that process also. What's that like now creatively?
Well, honestly, I mean, it's amazing. Again, to have an opportunity to sit down with these hit writers who are just incredibly talented people anyway. But but to learn their process and because I mean everyone's a bit different. I mean,
Of course.
it's not the same. And but it's neat to to see that, to be a part of that, and to figure out what works for you, and as far as your own art and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's a learning curve, learning process. I mean, it's a craft like anything else. I mean, we're definitely writing, but I mean,
I've been told it's like a muscle. You got to work it out, right, to get stronger. I remember the first time we met up with Brett and Jim at the BGM Studios right there, in Riders Row. Like that was a stretch for me personally because I remember being so nervous. That was probably the most nervous I've been in my life was to do something. Like I remember sitting in the car and being like, I can't breathe. Like I'm so nervous. But I knew that was because of that, that was the right thing to do. It was a growth period. And we sat in there and we wrote. Was that the day we wrote Honky Tonk Honey?
and last call.
Honky Tonk Honey and Last Call. And when we walked out of that room, I was just like, wow, like this is crazy. It was addicting, man.
Yeah.
You wanted to go home and write more. And I can see how if you're a writer and you're involved in that life, like constantly there and on Music Row writing for a publishing company or whatever, or you have that community of friends you write with, like how that could be just your everyday thing, which is cool. Now we're artists. We have the business side. We got to travel. We got to tour. We got to, whatever. So when you're asking how we're doing it now, it's like now it's cool because we're getting to the point now where we can start. Now that the band's kind of growing into its own thing with a lot of the changes we had this past year, we're starting to focus a little more on that, how to create more. Like rehearsal tomorrow to see. I sit back because I feel I'll pull the weakest link card on this band. I'll be honest, like. We have a thunderous, amazing bass player that's just insane. Like music wise, his sensibilities as a bass player are really cool as a musician. And then you got Jake's, geniusness. That's a word. And, and
Geniusness.
and then you got Avery, who has a lot of ideas, and he's an amazing musician as well. Man, I honestly, I sit back sometimes. I just kind of shrink back and watch them create, and and then I can jump in and put I don't know, I'm gonna put this little thing here, but they create this masterpiece, right? So I'm excited for rehearsal tomorrow, and it's been a while since we've been excited because there's a lot of busyness in our lives. But we're excited for tomorrow's rehearsal, dude, because there's gonna be some cool creative stuff happening. That we get to write some new parts, we get to do some new music stuff. So to answer your question in a long way is it's evolving, constantly learning how to write better, constantly learning how to create our sound.
So one thing I find funny is in the music business, I'm by no means an artist, songwriter, or nothing. I'm just a really curious older guy that seems to know when to ask the right questions sometimes. But for me, I've learned over the years of interviewing some incredible people within the business that those lessons and those chances at mentorship are so few and far between, and they're much like a really good fishing spot, right? Nobody wants to give those away to you for free. However, if you're paying attention and you're sponge-like, they drop those little tidbits all the time. They give you the directions to the fishing spot, so to speak. And if you're listening, then you're going to pick those up. And that's the difference between people who make it and people who don't. Is being able to listen and bring that information in when it's given. Because when you ask, they're not going to just tell you where the fishing spot is. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's true.
Does being bilingual help you? Does that give you an advantage creatively with your music?
I wouldn't call myself bilingual, Chris. No, I'm what they call a coconut in my community. Brown on the outside, kind of white on the inside.
White on the inside. Okay, so he said it, not me. All right.
Ah!
All right.
No, I grew up. I grew up in a cool culture where, I guess I say cool culture, but in a culture where it was like Spanish. Like I want to be American. I don't want to be, speak Spanish. I had to learn it to speak to my grandma. All she speaks is Spanish. My dad's side still. They're from Mexico and everything. My grandpa, well versed. He was a teacher here for 40 years, but my grandma still to this day, it's hard to have a conversation with her. Like it's very like it's cute or whatever because it's like, hi grandma, hola amigo, you know, like ¿Cómo estás? Bien. You know,
It's
very
like a hi
I've never
grandma,
had a
bye
cute conversation.
grandma in the same sentence, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and but playing mariachi and growing up in San Antonio, I mean, I understand Spanish. You know, I'm very proud of where I come from. You got to learn it, and I think as I'm getting older now too, I'm just getting better at the language again. It's a really hard balance. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you want to get into it, talking about the bilingual thing. I mean, as a band right now, um, uh,
Well, I imagine
I don't
those
know how to put it.
ingredients are helping you reach ears that
Well, it is,
normally
but
wouldn't.
you have to be very careful because we don't want to be ever read that line of pandering, you know, to
Yeah,
something just
yeah, I feel
you know what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
It has to be genuine, and also I want people to understand personally that this is a band, you know, that there's multiple backgrounds than just sorry, multiple backgrounds than just the Hispanic background that I have. We joke around, I'm like, Jakey, we got to throw an Irish jig in there or something, you know, or like.
Yeah, I don't see water dancing being a very popular at our show.
But it has helped, man. I mean, some of our biggest songs that we got on our Spotify Wrapped is like Mas Tequila. That song, you know, brings the energy. It's a fun song, but I mean, the only Spanish in that song is Mas Tequila. It's we put out our kind of like a digital release of our own version of Drinking Problem by Midland, the Brindemos version, which is a Spanish English version. And that always gets a great response when we do it live, you know, for dancers to come out. And then live we do a tribute to Vicente Fernandez, which is he's one of the catalysts of mariachi music.
Right.
If you don't know Vicente, he was an international influence. We do a mariachi song, you know, Volver, and that's always you see people coming out of the woodwork, you know, like oh, you know, they're really proud of where they're coming from, and our band now is predominantly Hispanic, which is hilarious because we always say like I don't know if you see Blood and Blood Out.
I have not.
That check it out. It's a fun movie.
Okay.
But it's basically a storyline. I won't get into it, but there's a white cousin in a Hispanic community that comes, you know, to LA, and the white cousin's name is Miklo. And so we always joke around like it's me, Avery, and Adam, and then we got Miklo, you know, and he's like, I'm white on the outside, but I'm brown on the inside. It's a culture thing. We don't take ourselves seriously.
That's called meeting in the middle, man. That's called meeting in the
Yeah,
middle,
man.
right?
It's this life's too short to take yourself so seriously. And I think, you know, blending cultures is always fun. You know, I did this song with Mark Powell recently that got a lot of flack for being too on the line of like racism towards Mexicans. I was like, dude, my dad, who's a second generation Mexican, helped write that song. And he laughed. A lot of, I mean, it's just you got to be careful, and you got to, you know, but you also got to be able to be like laugh at yourself and own where you come from, right? I don't know.
I love that, man. Great answer. Good stuff. I love that a lot. So, man, you guys, man, 5-time number ones, one of the most awarded bands in the 2020s in Texas. I don't know if you guys know that, but you guys,
What?
yeah, one of the top 3 most awarded bands across the different award shows in Texas. You guys headlined Billy Bob's recently. Rico has not one but 2 songs on the Texas charts right now as a guest, essentially, right? You talked about the Mark Powell one. I'm also
Yeah.
the Charlie Pride cover as well. That's also on the charts.
Yeah.
Man, busy, and making noise. Is there a validation point here somewhere for you guys? Have you guys reached a point where you're like, wow, look at this stuff that's happening to us?
No.
It's crazy.
No, I mean we're very very grateful. And certainly we don't take it for granted. But I mean our heads are down. Just try and move forward.
And not even trying to be like a hard, like oh, heads are down. Like no, it's serious, man. This is our lifestyle. I think awards are great. I think they're something that you can like look up and be like, oh, cool. So something's happening, and you can kind of gauge where things are going, right?
It's a barometer.
Barometer.
It'll let you know you're going in in the right direction.
But again, one of the best hillbilly shamans with our friend David Lee once said, music, this life, it's a journey with no destination.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's a journey with no destination. And it's a matter of how long you want to be on that journey. And I think, and I'll manifest this, and it can be here on this podcast. I was just talking to Jakey about this before. When we're selling out Red Rocks, and we're still going to be like, I don't think we made it there, bro.
Yep.
You know?
Somebody once said on this podcast that reflection is for those that aren't doing it anymore.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, there you
Like
go.
that.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that.
a great one.
So gotta love that. Before we get into the second song that you guys are going to do for us today, which by the way is not anywhere, and they talked about this earlier about putting stuff out there that you shouldn't do, and they're doing it today for us. So huge blessing. Thank you for that. How do you guys feel your sound has evolved since you relocated to Texas from your Michigan days?
Wow, that's interesting.
Great question. Great question.
It's interesting because I think it's become a little more progressive, maybe a little aggressive, but still, Texas country based with the fiddle. It's just interesting because as Rico had mentioned, over the last year, there's been a lot of change in our camp, and whenever you introduce new musicians into a project, it's going to sound different. I mean, everything that you've done before will sound different in some capacity, So, but I think along with just mindfully trying to put out the kind of music that we're excited about and proud of, like a lot of our older stuff. I say older stuff. That's weird.
It's older though. It's
Yeah.
like 7 years old.
Our older stuff. I mean, it seems to harken more of like a '90s country feel, which is we all love that for sure.
Yeah.
And that's still a part of who we are. But we're definitely beginning to introduce heavier elements. Just elements. Not just to kind of push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
But without being too cryptic, I'm sorry.
It's I'll expand on that just a little bit. It's like I personally feel like we got to the point where it's like we're gonna do us. Like we want to be who we're gonna grow into who we are. When we first moved to Texas, there was a big thing to fit that. Like we want to do Texas music. Texas. Listen to our first EP, Locked Up in Love, like Plainview. A lot of the stuff was Texas, really Texas heavy.
Plainview, another Bernie Nelson song.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, all those. The thing is, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're proud of that. We're proud of this. I mean, I'm still a proud Texan. I wear a Texas music shirt today. But I think right now we're at a point where it's like, as a creative artist, you can't be afraid to do. Like, remember Zach Brown had his the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde album he put out?
Yep.
And people were like, "What is this? What are you doing? Where's where's my chicken fried and all that? Like, you're not a country artist. Where's our country music?" And then I remember in a Rolling Stones article, he said, "I'm not a country artist. I'm an artist. And if you're a fan of us, you'll embrace everything we put out." And you'll be there on that ride because it's not going to be like this forever. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. And when we come out with another kind of, if it's a different genre or something, it's still us, but it reflects a part of our soul and our spirit and our heart.
Yeah.
It's different, And so I think that's where we're at. It's like we still love the Texas country, we're still in that 90s vein. It's very country still, trust me. But right now, we're starting to grow and play with some different elements, different color palettes.
And honestly, at the end of the day, if you're a true fan of the artist, then you're going to be more objective to whatever art they release to you as a listener. Yeah. And that should be the advantage of kind of going from one style, one genre, one whatever to another. Those people that are going to be objective for you are the ones that matter the most anyway to you as an artist, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. I think honestly, I think that that I mean it's a fine line, Chris, and I between being true to what is inside of you, as and whatever it is that you want to express, and as opposed to, you know, trying to monetize this and have a career. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, the art and the entertainment, although I mean they're very intimately, activated, but they're very different. They're very different. You know, I mean, you know, I'm a you don't need to sell art to be an artist.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you can live. I mean, you can
Write your own.
yeah, you can I'm a be a bedroom player who
Yeah.
who writes these incredible symphonic pieces
Absolutely.
on computer. You know,
And the word
but
success is subjective too. It's personal, and whatever your personal definition of success is whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be monetary or business related. And
Exactly.
I absolutely love that. Let's talk about the second song, and then I got kind of some funny little segments we'll do with y'all. I know we're running over, and I appreciate you guys for
Okay,
hanging
good,
out
man.
with me.
I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
You know what? You know, you're so fun. This is great.
Thank you, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So the song that you're going to play here is called "Next Heart You Break." This is Nowhere. So tell us about this one.
This is another one of those songs that we are beginning to introduce, heavier, more aggressive element, but they're, it's still fiddle based. Yeah, we're really excited to put this out at some point. It's coming up at some point. Isn't it?
Yeah, I think this we haven't discussed it quite yet, but it's potentially our next single. We're feeling it out. It's crazy to think that we have singles already planned all the way almost to 2026.
I
It's
love
crazy.
that.
This is the stuff we have lined up, but another song that we got from Jim Beavers as well too, that we collabed, and he sent over, and we knew we could put our own feel on it, and it's cool because it's playing it live. We have played it live, but playing it live, sometimes you get to a festival crowd or something, it's very easy to learn during the song. So by the middle of the song, people are singing it back already. It's very hooky. And
Very
so,
hooky.
and I think for me personally, I'll describe it as like it's a good radio song. You're driving down the highway, like next heart, it's just like going. So so yeah, I'm excited for you to hear it. You're gonna hear a little bit of a more acoustic, broken down version today with just me and Jake, but the full band version is pretty epic, and we can't wait for people to hear that.
And this is kind of you guys have been foreshadowing through this entire interview about something coming that's different, that's a little heavier. And would this be the first example of that, even though it's acoustic?
Well, I mean,
Not acoustic wise.
I mean, the actual recording of it, yeah, is a bit heavier, a little more aggressive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just it's cool, man. I to us.
It does. Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean,
It's kind of what matters.
you gotta put out music that you're proud of and that you'll stand behind.
Absolutely.
I will say this too, just an important note on this song. When people hear it, we recorded this song in Texas,
Yeah.
not in Nashville. Which it's not. We're not doing an anti-Nashville.
Is this Stormy
movement or
Cooper
nothing like
again?
that. Yes,
Yep.
Stormy Cooper. It's over in Houston, man. And just as I say, it's important because I think you can hear that progression if you listen to these new tunes coming out, these new singles versus what we had out with Wild Horses and the Honky Tonk in Heaven album. Like that was recorded in Studio A and B at Sony Tree, over in Nashville. That was recorded in Sound Emporium, Omni Studios, all that stuff, which was cool because you go, you make a trip of it. We're going to the studio. We're going to Nashville. We're gonna make this. But then it's like we go in and we have one day to get this stuff done.
It's work,
And it
man.
becomes
People don't
becomes
realize,
a-
bro, it is work, man.
Well, I'm saying you also the creativity is not. It's what's the word? It's compressed.
It's like
It's stifled.
Yep.
But here, having a studio 2.5 hours down the road in Houston from where we're at, and then these buds that are like, man, hey, I know it's taking a little bit longer. We'll give you some more time. We're not gonna press you for money. I mean, it costs a lot to record.
Yeah.
So you're on the time. And you're like, hey, dude, money is your time. Like you gotta go. Get it done. One take. Come on. All right, we're done. Next song. And that's Stormy's. This is the first time that we've got to sit down experiment,
And feel creative.
feel creative, and these you'll hear it in these songs when we put them out.
That's a big thing for someone's creativeness, man. I'm excited to show the song. World launch of the acoustic version of possibly their next single. It's called Next Heart You Break. Y'all check it out.
One, two. Baby, you had lots of practice of being the first to say goodbye. And I guess the fact is, I'm just another one of those guys who fell for your lies and your kiss. But remember this, someday somebody might put you through the hell you put me through. It's the kind of hurt that whiskey can undo. You keep doing your damage, gonna end up all alone. And the next heart you break, it just might be your home. Who's your next victim? The guy who don't know how to dance. I saw you with him. Well, that cowboy, he don't stand a chance. I'd like to warn him that you're gonna be long gone in the morning. Someday somebody might put you through the hell you put me through. It's the kind of hurt whiskey can undo. You keep doing your damage, gonna end up all alone. And the next heart you break, it just might be your home. Yeah. You keep doing your damage, gonna end up all alone. And the next heart you break, it just might be your home. Yeah, the next heart you break, it just might be your home. Yeah, it just might be your home.
All right, we are back. We have Jakey and Rico from Kinfo. I have to mention, obviously, like you guys have done a lot of interviews over the years, and the first question every single time, well, how did you guys come up with the name Kinfo? It seems to be pretty obvious, so I don't ask obvious questions on this show. But I will say that it's probably because you guys feel like family, but you're not actually family, so it's kind of like faux family. And,
Nailed it.
you know, because we're, you know, using the English language, you know, faux kin doesn't work on the radio, right? Because
Nailed it, bud.
Yes, dude. How did you do that?
You got it.
That's exactly it.
Exactly it.
But man, I really hate that there's a lot of missed opportunity with faux kin, right? Like
Right,
just,
yeah.
just
Well, we're still playing with ideas of merch that, you know, like Kinfo is Fokin awesome or something. I don't know.
absolutely they are. So let's do some little less serious some less serious segments here.
I remember that.
And I'm also going to ask you guys probably the hardest question you'll answer tonight as part of one of these segments as well. But first one, Mount Rushmore of country bands for each of y'all. Top 4 country bands. You can only pick 4. No honorable mentions.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. You first, bro. I'm piggybacking off of you.
Well, for me, Restless Heart, Alabama, Sons of the Desert, Black Hawk.
No, that's 4. Is that your 4?
Oh, there you go. I'm good.
All right.
4.
Rico.
For me, Charlie Daniels. I love Restless Heart because Jake got me into him. Rick Trevino, the artist, one of my favorite country singers. And then last one, brother, it's a tough one. Would you consider the Eagles a country band?
Do you consider the Eagles a country band? Don't get me to do some controversial shit up in here, Rico.
I love the Eagles, and I did listen to that. But I would, even if they wouldn't, they would go on my Rushmore.
All right, we'll do that. We'll let people out there decide if they're country or not, and
put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments. That's right. If Rico is wrong, let us know. All right, so we're gonna play a game called What the Heck, you guys.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So we used to play What the Heck back in the day on my old podcast, and you guys will be my first guinea pigs for this on this show.
Okay.
So the way this works, if I can find the questions, is I'm going to give you guys 5 questions. This is kind of in a rapid fire kind of way. So I want you guys to turn your filters off, and you have to answer whatever comes into your head when you hear the question. Okay? Here we go. Number 1. If 4 out of 5 people suffer from diarrhea, does that mean one person enjoys it?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Are you more of a hunter or a gatherer?
Hunter.
Gatherer.
Okay, if you were a crayon, what color would you be and why?
Clear.
Clear crayon? Where did that come from? I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh, man.
Brown. Green.
I don't know.
Green.
Brown because I'm brown, Chris.
All right. What happens if you get scared half to death twice?
You're a goner, bro.
That is a great question. That's funny.
So I've been told that if you get scared half to death twice, then you still have a quarter of a life left and you can never die because there's always more left. So if you get scared half to death, that means you have half your life left. And then if you get scared half to death again, now you still have half your life left.
Quarter.
Half
So-
and half. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a math question, really.
It's a 12.5% life is what's left. Yes.
Okay, so I think I have like 3.1 left at this point, but we won't go there. Have you ever tripped? Last one. Have you ever tripped on stage? And if so, how did you play it off to be cool?
Oh, open the floors.
Dude.
I had a bad fall last year at a place called John T. Floors in Helotes, Texas. It was our last song of the night, CD release. Yep. We had flown in some Jim Beavers, we had David Lee there and Bernie Nelson. They did the songwriter round as an opening set, so it was an epic night.
Wow.
Full crowd. I think we had like close to like 500 people there, a little over that. Inside it was packed. It was great. The night vibe was great. I bought gold leather pants for this show.
He looked like a disco ball with a fiddle. It was great.
Great show, fun, high energy. The crowd was having fun. We get to the last song, and
He steps out of the subs, right?
I'm stepping onto the sub.
He starts
first.
walking over the subs until there's no sub there. He didn't know there was no sub there.
Man, embarrassing. Like front row, but and
Fiddle was up like this.
yeah. Jakey ran over immediately. Ran over. Are you okay? And I'm just holding my fiddle up, looking up. The crazy thing is, this venue. I said the venue because it's important because when you have almost sold out crowd there, the people are literally a foot in front of you, man. They're literally a foot in front of you, and the stage is only a foot off the ground, maybe 2 feet off the ground. And so when I felt in this like looking up at people like. And let me tell you what, I had to play it off because I was in so much pain. I landed on my knee and 350 pounds going down on one knee. Oh my gosh. I got up, played it off, finished the song, and ran straight to the green room. And I was like, Mommy! So the crazy thing too is my mom was in the restroom when that happened, and a bunch of ladies ran to the restroom like, Rico fell, and then people went crazy. There was a recording of some guy recording it from like the audience perspective in the back, and all you hear is this shrill scream of when I fell, like it was like horror, Rocky around horror film, like. It was an event, Chris.
So the short answer is he played it cool by not screaming for his mommy until he was in the green room.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
He was very, very brave.
I'm proud of being on the board.
He was very brave.
Very brave. Such a good boy. Such a good boy.
Such a good
Who's a good boy, Rico? Who's a good boy?
There was this other time when we were playing out in Fredericksburg, and he was out in the middle of the
Oh, I gotta put a guitar down.
the dance floor doing the solo, right? And he did it, and he spun it, and he missed it, and it dropped, and the neck broke, and he went.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
was gonna
great.
sing that my fiddle through.
Improvisation. That's
Oh, it was like those that 2.5 second silence. It was like an eternity. It's like, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?
And so you can bet your ass that Rico has two of his half to death deaths right there. All right, last question, and then I'll let you guys get out of here. This is going to be the hardest one for you guys to answer by far, I promise you. But I have to ask this like a wrestling promo. So here we go. Who do you think you are? Who is Kinfo?
Oh, who's Kinfo? Oh man, I believe that Kinfo is just a band of brothers who truly just love making music, love being with each other, love performing, and want every opportunity that they're afforded to make some music for some people who want to hear.
That's it. In a nutshell, Kinfo is your Kinfo. No, seriously, like your Kinfo.
Your Kinfo, but sorry.
Thank you,
Yeah.
man.
So sorry.
I appreciate that.
It's one of those things like I want to make a shirt that says I'm Kinfo, like everybody wears them. You know, like when you're at a Kinfo.
How about
show,
there's the
like,
merch? I'm Faux Kin.
There you go. I'm Fokin.
bro.
There's
I'm
the
serious.
merch. I want my cut.
Dude.
5%, baby. Come on.
I'm Fokin ...
Yes.
hammered.
Yes.
Hammered.
There you go. I'm
That's the
Faux
Kinfos.
Kin.
There you go.
Ninfo for Kinfo.
And then you do the ... and on the back you put hammered with like whatever you're being sponsored by. Like a hammer and a bottle of tequila like cross. You know what I mean?
Spit and gold, Chris.
All right, if
Spit
you
and
see
gold.
this, if you see this,
Spit and gold.
we'll
buddy.
give you your percent.
All right, cool. All right, cool. So I'm
That's
getting
your question,
merch
man.
cuts out here, ladies and gentlemen, on the Boston Chris podcast. We got Rico, we got Jakey. You guys, thank you so much for your time. Episode 40.
This was so much fun, man.
Thanks for having us, pal.
Hey, I told you it was the National Geographic version, right, Rico?
I love
Hey.
it. I love it.
You did, man. This is refreshing, man. And I'm not just trying to butter your biscuits, but you're great at this. And thank you. You keep it up, brother. You keep doing what you're doing, spreading the love, spreading the kindness. I love what you have up there. You know, you are enough. You know, I read that earlier, and keep the vibes, man, because God knows we need that right now.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's just a reminder, man.
Hey
Just
y'all, it's Billy Joe Jones. Thanks for tuning in to the Boston Chris podcast.